Hey everyone, Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com's DevOps TV, here at InterConnect 2017. And we're wrapping up day 2. And I'm happy to be joined by a friend of mine, Rob Hirschfeld of RackN. But Rob is a jack of all trades and certainly has not a checkered past, a distinguished history.
Depends on which side of the argument you are on.
Yeah,
that's right.
That you want to talk to. But hey, Rob, welcome, man. I'm glad to have you here. So let's get the InterConnect stuff right out of the way.
Sure.
What are you doing here?
Wow, I'm a guest of IBM. I participate in a program called Cloud Minds, where they invite us in basically to give them a hard time about stuff they're doing well and not doing well. And so we have a lot of discussions about that. It's actually been a really exciting thing because they're very open to our feedback. They sort of want to show us what's going on and how things are going, and then hear thumbs up and thumbs down.
Really, that's an interesting concept because no one wants to hear complaints, right? But the fact that IBM is actually doing that and thinking that way, kind of pretty cool. Without spilling any family secrets, what
Sure.
kind of advice have you been giving them over the InterConnect?
So that's a great question. I the stuff I do, I'm so open. I tweet on Zehicle, and I write a lot of blogs and things like that, and I'll lay it out for people. I really think that the breadth of capabilities that IBM's brought to market has been really surprising to me here, right? Connecting cognitive and blockchain and cloud and containers and all those pieces and parts. It's amazing. The challenge is they're doing a lot, and it doesn't necessarily have a consistent message. And so, I think compared to the circles I go in, where it's Kubernetes on cloud for this reason, the IBM message, which has a whole bunch of islands, doesn't appear to be as connected as it needs to be. The other thing that I think about this is that there is a ton of hidden data, this business-to-business transactional stuff, IoT, that sort of lurks under the surface of consumers' awareness. And if you get out of the valley, it's super important, but it's not very exciting. And IBM's done a really good job quietly helping these customers connect all these things together. I think that's really important.
I think it is. And Rob, you're dead on with a point here. I mean, you look out on the floor at InterConnect and, there's the partners and then there's the IBM people themselves. But you know what? They've got a great story around DevOps. We've known it at DevOps.com for 3 years because I work with them. Yeah. But they really, you want to say they're IBM, fine, they are IBM. There's no doubt about it. But they've got a great story around DevOps. They've got a great story. Yeah. You see stuff on blockchain and their security. And you know what? I don't think, look, cognitive and AI is all over the world now, but they're still the leaders in it as far as I know and as far as I think. So you look at so many of these, even the Bluemix and the Bluemix Garage and the Method. Right. It's cool stuff. It's almost if I took the IBM away from it and told you I had a company who was doing these things, you would say that's a pretty cool company.
It's very cool.
You put IBM on and it's like, wait a second, what are they doing here?
Yeah, that's true.
So
there's a brand challenge
where it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And I will tell you as not an advertiser, a media company who deals with them. Look, sometimes it's difficult because they're still IBM, and they try to tap dance, but it's still hard to be that big in tap dance.
One of the things that I believe really strongly, and this is something that RackN does very, very assertively, is we don't want to tell people they're right or wrong. And IBM, because of their scope, has a tendency to work with customers where they are.
Right.
And you know what? Sometimes that means you're putting on overalls and you're digging ditches in traditional IT systems because that's how you help people get there. The Silicon Valley, and I'm not anti-Silicon Valley at all, but the Silicon Valley mentality of, just start over, greenfield,
throw it out.
DevOps, and
we call it immutable infrastructure.
Immutable infrastructure. It's a 12-factor design, and if you don't understand it, get out of town. And so, that there's a huge place for that, and I'm actually a strong believer in those principles. But then you have to step back and say, all right, how do I help people who aren't there get there? How do I keep them from disrupting?
Who also have hundreds of millions or tens of millions of dollars invested in mission-critical things that, I had a guy here from a bank who's, they're on Z systems, and they're using some new Cobalt on Urban Code to roll
Goodness.
some stuff out.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, that sounds pretty cutting edge. She says, well, we got to be careful because about 40% of the Dutch economy goes through our banking system. And you can't afford to take down 40% of the Dutch economy. I'm sorry.
And this to me is why IBM is IBM, and this is why they have that reputation. It's that of being slow. It's like, all right, well, sometimes you actually do need to be, it's not as easy as saying, hey, we're not doing this anymore, we're doing that.
Right.
And so you can't do it. I mean, what we do is very infrastructure focused. And, people are like, oh, I hate Pixie booting servers, it sort of sucks. I'm like, well, it's the protocol. I'm sorry it's using TFTP, a 30-year-old protocol, but it does.
If you come up with something better, it's not going to kill things.
But you can't, because no matter what you do, every server that's been sold so far has it. So cope
unless
with it.
You're going to throw all your servers away.
Right.
Well, serverless computing. But Rob,
there's an interesting topic too.
That's another interesting topic. You're right. We've been doing a lot on that on DevOps.com. But I want to pivot a little bit and talk about RackN.
Sure.
Which is your company. So
Always.
I imagine that there's a lot of people out here who don't know RackN. Give them a quick pitch.
So RackN is a hybrid infrastructure automation company. We sell software that helps companies who want to do both physical and cloud infrastructure and be able to really abstract out. We're not virtualization or containers, it's actually management. And what we found is that companies really want to be cloud first, but they have a lot of infrastructure. They want to be able to move in and out of their infrastructure and really have portability. And so what we did was we built software that companies can run themselves, right? And we're starting to run it for people too, but it's predominantly designed for companies who want to use that to manage boot provision, physical with cloud type behaviors, and then also be able to take workloads that are running in cloud and move them to physical clouds and move them to, it really abstracts that whole thing. That's it.
Very cool. And so you were here from, at the invitation of IBM. But what have you seen here, Rob, that kind of helps you in terms of RackN? Because it's great that you're helping IBM, but you want to help yourself too, right?
I do. For RackN, I'm listening to the messages of how people position what they're doing, right? I'm not scoping IBM customers from that perspective. I am looking for potential places to partner with IBM and help them solve some of these problems. But a lot of what I like to hear is, how are people talking about hybrid computing? How are people talking about containers and open source and things like that? And so I get a huge takeaway from that. And then the other thing that I find fascinating is heterogeneity in people's infrastructure, which I don't say that much. I usually say hybrid and mean heterogeneity. But if you look at what's coming on with GPU processing for cognitive, which is also going down into field programmable gate arrays or FPGAs, there's new architectures, like there's ARM coming out, there's some new open power stuff. Oh my God, it's amazingly
diverse.
There's all sorts of different options, and if you can get a 10 or 100x improvement in your processing by switching to one of these new architectures, or a reduction in power,
but they're very dependent upon doing a certain type of job, right? The GPU is great for cognizant,
right? But here's here's where we step in. Here's where we see the opportunity, is that the more diversity you have in the infrastructure, the more heterogeneity, the harder it is to manage. And so we're sort of unleashing all this developer productivity. Serverless is a great example, and containers is an example, and cognitive. And then on the other side, we're bringing in all these new servers, and its infrastructure is getting cheaper and faster. And operations, it's like, oh, wait a second. More demands on one side, more complexity on the other. We have to find a way to make operations 10 times more productive. And what we see as a huge problem, and I haven't seen it addressed well here, is every operations does it themselves. They do it differently. And so what we're trying to do is create this basic abstraction so that you can plug in different vendor servers, you can plug in different clouds, and still run your infrastructure in a consistent way. And importantly for us, take over, not have to invent your own. So now you can actually use best practices for infrastructure. but very importantly to us, stay open.
Yep, got it. Rob, where can people find out more information about RackN?
So RackN.com is
That's
RackN.
RACKN.
RackN.com, super simple. We do a lot of work through our open source project, which is called Digital Rebar, which is rebar.digital, because we're cool, hip kids from that perspective. I'm Zehicle online, and I'm happy to talk to people about that.
Sure.
And I do a lot of blogging and tweeting and things like
We
that.
know you do, sometimes even on DevOps.com.
I love writing for DevOps.com.
We love it.
And I owe you a nice piece about SRE.
We'd love to see, SRE's high. I was just telling you before, we had some folks at SRE Con last week. We can have some articles on that. We'd love some more.
I'm happy to do it. I really feel like there's this excellent balance with DevOps and SRE, and I don't want to see them opposed. They're very...
No, they shouldn't be opposed. But so nothing's revolutionary. It's all evolutionary.
Agreed.
And SRE is another evolution along that DevOps family line, if you will, right? And they're not opposed. I don't think they should be anyway.
So what one of the things that hurt me like cognitively about DevOps is that people, for good reason, get really upset when you take DevOps and make it a job title.
Right.
And so, right, and I understand why, and I understand on both sides of the issue. SRE is a job title. It is a role, it's a responsibility, it's an ownership of infrastructure that uses DevOps principles. And so it's
I like the way he's framing
wonderful to be able to say, all right, I am an SRE and it's a job title and nobody's going to get mad at me for it.
Yep.
And then you can use DevOps principles, and then you can talk to the developers and you can help them do a pipeline of development all the way through to production, let them own production, and they're doing DevOps. And now we actually have a way to have this conversation that nobody in DevOps world head explodes because you've called it
a
DevOps team.
There's always someone who wants to have their head explode, Rob. Hey, but we're going to call it a wrap.
Excellent.
Rob Hirschfeld, RackN, here talking to us at InterConnect 2017. This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com and DevOps TV.